The world is doomed. Rapid industrialization has swept the planet. The ocean water has risen high enough that individuals must now live in small, compact cities. Starch Cola, the ones who can be blamed, are now the world's leader. But these are not the battles that you are fighting. You are a private detective in a city riddled with crime, hate, theft, and murder. You've accepted a job posting by the police. Locate a suspect who has avoided police custody. They provide you with all the details they have about the suspect. A fingerprint, a description of short black hair, and that their name starts with a J. Oh God, not this again. So you do what every sane private detective would do. Go through the phone book and look up everybody whose name starts with J. Break into each person's home and rummage through all of their personal belongings, looting any cash that you find for yourself, and pacifying any resident who dares interfere with your investigation. Wait a second, are we the bad guys? Welcome to Shadows of Doubt, a game where you roleplay as an insane detective desperately trying to find an early retirement, where harvesting the personal data of your neighbors and committing hate crimes is a good thing. End the day questioning whether or not you should turn yourself in. And by God, you better make sure you get your $2 by advertising Starch Cola to everyone you see. In this world, a mega corporation called Starch Cola has risen into power, being the first to officially be elected as leader. You play the entire game in a city under their jurisdiction, working with any sketchy jobs you find on the local job postings. Your character is a former detective that has had the worst thing possible happen to them. Their social credit score has plummeted all the way down to the lowest rank, leaving you jobless and homeless. The city in this game is amazing. Everything, and I mean everything, is randomly generated from a seed. From the buildings that are present and where they are located, to even the citizens that roam the city. Every little detail about the citizens are all randomly generated. You can have a guy with purple hair that works at a 24-hour diner, or even an office worker who goes to the office at specific times of day. Every little minute detail is created. Like if you break into someone's home, you can look through their shoebox of documents. You can find their birth certificate, their lease agreement to their apartment, or even the prescriptions that individuals may have. Or, as I said before, the schedule that some NPCs follow are also randomly generated. When you search through their belongings, you can find a note that details their entire work schedule. With that information, you can know exactly when that person's going to work, which makes it the perfect time to go into their house and steal all of their belongings. Before we go further into gameplay stuff, let's talk about the story of the game. Because, well, there isn't really a story to Shadows of Doubt, other than the setting that it takes place in. With Starch Cola being the president or ruler, there isn't much to go off of. If we look around the city that we live in, it is isolated from others. The only thing we can see is the watery depths of the ocean on all four sides of the square that we live on. It seems as though Starch Cola does not actually care what happens in our city. As crime runs rampant throughout the city, you have constant thefts, vandalism, espionage, and even murder. Most of them are probably caused by the player character, but the officers do almost nothing to stop it. The most you'll see them do at different crime scenes is put a police tape and stand in front of the door doing absolutely nothing but guard it, which they barely do a good job at that, because half the time you could just walk through the front door without them noticing. Thankfully, not everybody's as crazy as us. Most of the NPCs will just go on with their daily lives. Some of them clearly have it better than others. The higher floors of each building host all of the richer apartments, complete with a security system that will assume that you are a criminal if you stand anywhere close to their front doors. Eventually, throughout your playthrough, you will hear this noise. Someone has been murdered. Immediately, we must spring into action. Head over to the town hall and pick up our investigation documents, and then sprint over to the murder scene, collecting as much evidence as we can, slipping past the police officer. At this point, you should be very thorough with your search, jotting down the murder victim, cause of death, fingerprints, their phone book, their workplace, the murder weapon, if there is one of course. The investigations is really what makes this game special. Because of the randomly generated levels and NPCs, you can have a wide variety of different murder cases and pieces of evidence to find. So taking notes with everything you find in a crime scene will always be helpful. To solve the case, you have to figure out who the murderer is, obviously. But you have some optional questions as well, like where does the killer live? What was the murder weapon? Was there any evidence that proved that they were at the crime scene? And did you also arrest the killer? By the way, eventually the crime scene will be scrubbed clean. Seems like all the Starch Cola enforcers can do is just clean up evidence. But don't worry, the killer will strike again. Some of these murders can get really tough, so think carefully what your next move will be after you finish gathering evidence. For example, your next move could be breaking into their place of work. Maybe the person that committed the murder was a jealous coworker seeking revenge. Which, by the way, the bosses are the most incompetent people when it comes to security. Posting a sticky note or a notepad in easily accessed areas. Like the reception desk. Or your next move could be to look through their address book. A close friend of theirs could have committed the crime. Even their roommate has the potential of doing it. It may have been a stalker who did it. And oh boy, do I have some stalker murder stories to tell you. I think a really good way to show you how great this game is by telling you stories about the recent cases I've had. So grab yourself some popcorn because it's story time. Case 1, the serial stalker. I've been running around harassing the local townspeople, attempting to find an individual for a side job I've accepted, when suddenly, a murder case. I sprinted into action, quickly heading towards the crime scene. There, I spotted a gruesome death. A man on the floor with a single gunshot wound, several bullet holes scattered throughout the house. I examine the body and predict the exact caliber of round used. I look around the apartment some more, and there I spot it. A shotgun that uses rounds similar to the wounds found on the body. Bingo, I found my murder weapon. I examined the gun to see if the murderer may have left some fingerprints behind, and I was shocked with what I found. The victim's wife's fingerprints were all over the murder weapon. An open and shut case, I thought. After failing to find the woman for a while, I decided to turn the case in. Because the townspeople would not give me a solid answer of where she was, I was so sure that the wife was the killer we were looking for. But boy, was I wrong. After turning in the case, I received my report. All of my selections were incorrect. She was completely innocent. I panic and quickly head back to the crime scene. Thankfully, the incompetent officers did not clean up just yet. There, I find a shocking revelation. The victim had a stalker, a young woman, skinny, with long brown hair, who is sometimes seen lurking around the local diner. Oh no, I thought to myself. Do you know how many people fit that description? And fast forward me looking around and failing to find the murderer. All the while, this person goes on a killing spree, murdering several more people in the same location. Eventually, I find a woman fitting the description, though I didn't have any reason to arrest her because she was just lurking around the building. Even though I heard one of the gunshots of the murders at one point, I somehow didn't think to check all of the rooms in the building for the murderer. Oops. Sorry, sir. I should have been more thorough. After some time, I had given up. This stalker was good, leaving almost no evidence behind. I thought it impossible to find her, so I took a wild guess. That suspicious woman I saw before. Maybe she was the murderer. And oh my god, I was right. She was actually hanging around the building because she had recently murdered somebody. I took my money, my social credit score went up, and headed back home to the diner. I was homeless. My social credit score was too low to afford a house yet. Completing both side jobs and murder cases will earn you some social credit and some cash. Yes, going in and breaking someone's windows will earn you good boy points. The social credit system is clearly amazing. As you earn more social credit, you will reach different social credit levels. Each level earns you a different perk, like being able to own a home again, or officers letting you investigate the murder scene without getting in trouble. Getting to the highest level, however, will allow you to retire, reaching the end of your story. So we must go out there and solve some murders. Uh-oh. Another murder case. Case 2, killer on the streets. Before this murder, I accepted a request to destroy a secret document. I was given a vague description of the individual I had to track, so finding him would be difficult. Little did I know that I was going to find him another way. I rush over to the murder scene. A man killed in the streets behind a diner. After studying the body, I've made a startling discovery. The man was the target of my secret document case. He was shot to death with a gun, similar to the previous murder. With not much evidence left behind, I was forced to investigate his apartment. While rummaging through his belongings and stealing his money, I found out that this man was being stalked by a woman. Wait, what? Another stalker killer? I was given another set of vague descriptors for the murderer. Let's just say I had a tough time finding the killer. Thankfully though, this serial killer only had 2 victims. As I fumbled around to find evidence on who the killer was, guess what I spotted? Another dead body. I found a dead body that was yet to be reported. I sprang into action, checking all I can on the victim if there was any evidence left behind. There I made a really dumb move, but that led me to figure out who the murderer was, so it wasn't really a dumb move after all. You see, I decided to take money out of the victim's wallet in front of a crowd of people. They didn't take too kindly to my looting, but I noticed that one of them was attempting to shoot me with a big gun. That's right. The murderer was right behind me while I was investigating the body. And for some reason, she started shooting at me when I looted it, which immediately led me to connecting the dots and arresting her. Bam! Case closed. And I got to keep the money, by the way. Another day, another murder. Let's see what we have this time. Another stalker? What's with the women in this town wanting to murder everybody? No, I'm not joking. While I was streaming this game, I had three stalker murderers in a row. Let's just say I've got some insane luck. No, I'm lying. I have bad luck. This person murdered multiple people again, and I only accidentally spotted the murderer again. This one was pretty messed up though, because she was like a nurse, and she was just walking into the next door building, murdering people. But you know what? Give me those sweet social credit score points, baby. Shadows of Doubt is the best detective game out there. With a randomly generated world and diverse NPCs, there is no end to the fun this game has to offer. Let me know the wacky cases you've had in the comment section below. Also, let me know if there's any game that you would like me to review. Thank you again for watching. Like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't, subscribe to the channel. It really helps out and it's free, and I'll see you all next time. See ya.